Hello and welcome to Byjus Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to the analysis session of the Hindu newspaper for today. Before we begin, once again reminding you, we are now on Telegram. You can join the Telegram channel to get all the latest current affairs updates by either scanning this code or using the link given in the description of this video. Let's begin with the first article that is based on Supreme Court's recent decision to give interim bail to human rights activist Ms. Teesta Setalvad. Now, as you know, Ms. Setalvad was arrested recently on the charges that she had allegedly forged evidence to implicate innocent people in the Gujarat riots case. Now, she is famous for a lot of reasons, but mainly because she has been raising her voice against the 2002 Gujarat riots and repeatedly targeting a lot of officials that were working in Gujarat at that time, saying that they should be punished because a lot of them have been guilty. Now, this particular case that has been mentioned here is a very interesting one. The author here is saying that the Supreme Court has granted an interim bail to her. However, his point is that the Supreme Court should have given complete bail and not an interim bail. Rather than focusing specifically on her case, the lawyer here who has written this article is saying that Supreme Court of India time and time again has said that bail is the rule while jail is an exception. However, even after repeated reminders, the lower courts in India, even the high courts, have not really followed this rule. Because in this case also, Ms. Setalvad's lawyer had actually filed the bail petition in the Gujarat High Court. But the Gujarat High Court was just not hearing the matter. They just kept on delaying it time and time again. They just kept on postponing it. And finally, she had to approach the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court had to take this call. So the author here is saying that the Supreme Court should repeat and should very strictly tell the high courts that the bail rules should be followed. Also, the author is saying that while hearing the matter, the Supreme Court of India said that there are some concerns with respect to this case. Concern number one, a complete charge sheet was not filed even 2 months after the arrest was made by the police. Concern number two, the FIR was registered the very next day when the Supreme Court's judgment came out dismissing Zakia Zafri's plea against the exoneration of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and others in the 2002 case. Meaning that just on the day when Supreme Court said that no, we will not hear the plea against the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, the very next day FIR was filed against Teesta Setalvad. If her case of forgery, if her case of wrong evidence was true, that FIR should have been filed earlier. Why were they waiting for this day? Third problem that the Supreme Court has noted is that there has been a long adjournment of the bail plea by the Gujarat High Court. As I said, the Gujarat High Court has been delaying this matter time and time again. And fourth, there are lack of allegations regarding any offense that has been committed by her. Meaning that the investigative agencies have not been able to provide any solid evidence that can prove that the crime was actually committed by her. Keeping all these things in mind, the Supreme Court of India has given the interim bail, which the author says should have actually been a complete bail, but that has not been the case. Now, the Supreme Court also asked questions to the Gujarat High Court about why were they infinitely delaying the bail hearing. Solicitor General, in fact, who appeared from the other side, that is, against Teesta Setalvad, said that rather than approaching the Supreme Court, she should have waited for the High Court order on the bail. But because High Court was continuously delaying the order, she had no choice but to approach the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court also accepted this. The author here also criticizes the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court has not been very kind to Ms. Teesta Setalvad. The author says that the Supreme Court blamed her and others for showing the audacity to question the integrity of every functionary associated with the investigation team of the Gujarat riots. This is the line that the Supreme Court judges used. When the Supreme Court uses these kind of lines, it actually gives a chance to the lower judiciary to be very, very strict against the people who are involved in the case. Thus, as per the author, if the High Court denied her the bail, or if the High Court did not hear the matter of the bail, it is not just the High Court that has to be blamed. Even the Supreme Court did not remain neutral in this case. The delay in hearing this case at the High Court level is very, very serious. And it is not just about this case. Many cases before this also have suffered from this kind of an apathy from different judges at different levels in the judiciary in India. While the Supreme Court in multiple cases has reiterated that bail should be the rule and jail should be an exception that has not been followed. The author here gives examples of multiple cases. For example, in 1977, Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer very famously wrote that the issue of bail or jail at the pre-trial or the post-conviction stage is one of liberty, justice, public safety and burden of the public treasury. Also, the jurisprudence of bail is integral to socially sensitive judicial processes. In 2011, the court again said that the objective of the bail is neither punitive nor preventative. It is the one that is meant to secure the appearance of the accused. So as long as the judges believe that the accused will not run away and will appear in the court whenever asked, there should not be any reason for denying the bail application. Now, as we are discussing, the Supreme Court gave what is called the interim bail. That is because there are different types of bails that are actually present in the Indian penal court system. Usually there are three types of bail: regular bail, interim bail, which is given in this case, and then we have something called the anticipatory bail. Regular bail is the order given by the court to release a person who is under arrest, keeping that in mind that whenever the person is called, he or she will come back in the court. This bail application can be filed under section 437 and 439 of the CRPC. Then we have the interim bail. It, as the name suggests, this is temporary in nature and short term. The court gives interim bail when the petition for anticipatory bail or regular bail is pending. So what the Supreme Court has said in this case of Tisa Setalwad is that we are giving you interim bail till the time that the High Court decides on the question on the regular bail. Third is the anticipatory bail. This is the direction given for release of person even before the person has been arrested. The person fears that he or she might be arrested, and even before that, if he goes to the court to ask for bail, that is called the anticipatory bail by the court. It is only issued by the Sessions Court and the High Court of the state. The question of bail arises mainly when we talk about bailable offences. As you know by now, there are certain offences which are called bailable and there are certain offences which are called non-bailable. Now, one very common confusion that people have is they believe that non-bailable offences means that you cannot get bail. That is not entirely true. Non-bailable offence means that getting a bail is not your right. You can still approach the magistrate, you can still approach the court requesting for bail. It then depends on the judge. It depends on the magistrate whether or not they want to give you the bail. When you are charged under bailable offences, then it is your right to actually get a bail if you are not breaking any other law. But in terms of non-bailable offences, you can still get the bail, but it depends on the judge if he or she believes that you would be given the bail. If there are grounds to believe that you have committed an offence punishable with death penalty or life imprisonment, then usually you do not qualify under this condition of bailable offence. Then you do not qualify under the condition of being given the bail. Next article that we have in the Hindu newspaper today is about India-Australia relationship. This is written because of the upcoming 5th round of the bilateral track 1.5 dialogue between India and Australia, set to take place in New Delhi, where senior officials from both the sides will interact on important issues with each other. Now, the article here is charting the history of India-Australia relations. They are rightly saying that in the 20th century, the two sides did not really have a lot of close relations. We hardly talked to each other. The only interaction we had was on the cricket pitch or in a hockey match. Apart from that, diplomatically, politically, there was not a lot of dialogue going on between the two sides till the 20th century. And if you actually realize, and if you actually see, this is not just India-Australia. Look at most nations around the world, barring the superpowers such as Russia and USA and our neighbors, you will see that till the 20th century, India did not have a lot of diplomatic dialogues with most of the nations around the world. And there are many reasons for that. One of the reasons is that till 1991, India was mostly a closed economy. When you are a closed economy, the other nations know that their economic interests don't align with yours. That is why they are not really interested in talking a lot to you. If you look at India's diplomacy, how India has been interacting with other nations, this took a major turn after the 1991 LPG reforms, when the economy opened up, when we gave opportunity to other nations also to come and be a part of India's growth story. So it's not just India, Australia. Many of our good relations today have been formed since the 21st century and not the 20th century. The same is the case with India and Australia. We hardly talk to each other because of a lot of reasons: the Cold War, the White Australia policy, and Australia's decision not to transfer uranium to India. Now, White Australia policy is actually an old policy run by Australian governments, according to which they did not allow non-European people like Asians, people from Pacific, etc., to migrate to Australia. This was a policy that they had introduced in 1901, under which they only allowed the whites to actually come and migrate to Australia. This policy, however, has been dismantled starting with 1950s, and by 1980 this policy was mostly taken away. But informally it still remained in force for some time after that as well. Now the situation between the two sides has improved drastically. A little bit of that has to be with India's market opening up. The other part has also got to do with India's economy now becoming an attractive proposition for most countries around the world. India and Australia share a lot of interest now. We send a large number of experts, job professionals, students to Australia. We also send a large number of tourists to Australia every single year. And that is why the two sides are now in almost an equal relationship without one preaching the other. Also, the two sides have one common issue between the two that they have to resolve, that is Chinese aggression. While India is a neighbor of China, China has also been in a very cold relationship with Australia, with a lot of issues coming up between the two sides, ranging from Quad, acquisition of submarines by Australia, the Chinese government trying to control the Pacific Islands near Australia, so on and so forth. That is why India and Australia have come together to collaborate on multiple issues, including cyber threats, artificial intelligence, decarbonization of both the economies, developing supply chains through critical mineral corporations specifically, and India sending a lot of tech talent to Australia as well. Now, although Australia has a lot to offer to India, but one very important significance of Australia for India is the critical mineral supply. Now, critical minerals are mainly those minerals which are finding increasing application in different spheres of our life, including electronics, including quantum mechanics, nuclear technology, so on and so forth. Every country has its own list of critical minerals. India has a list of 49 minerals in all. And out of those 49, Australia has good reserves of at least 21 of those. So Australia is a very significant partner for India when it comes to fulfilling our requirement of critical mineral that we require in the coming years. That will be extremely handy in making India a carbon neutral economy in the long run. Now, as I said, there are different nations that make their own list of critical minerals. However, most of these lists include minerals such as graphite, lithium, cobalt, silicon, so on and so forth. Mainly they are used in a lot of electronics related equipments such as the computer chips, solar panels, etc. India's own Department of Science and Technology, along with the Council on Energy, Environment and Water, drafted the Critical Mineral Strategy for India in 2016, where, as the article says, we have identified 49 minerals that will be vital for India's future economic growth, and at least 21 of them are found in Australia in good numbers. They are being used increasingly for making mobile phones, electric vehicles, green technology such as the solar panels, wind turbines, etc. They're also being used to make satellites, drones, radio sets, and other critical equipment. One other important development that has happened here is that about 11 nations across the world have come together to solve this question of supply chain of critical minerals. Interestingly and unfortunately, India is not a part of it. This group is led by the US and it has partner nations such as Australia, Canada, Finland, France, Germany, Japan, South Korea, Sweden, UK, US and the European Commission. This is a group led by the US and is officially called the Minerals Security Partnership. If you look at online news articles, you will see India is trying hard to become a part of this group, but that has not happened so far. The focus of this group is to ensure robust supply chains of materials such as cobalt, nickel, lithium, and other 17 rare earth minerals specifically. As you can see, China is not a part of it, but China has almost developed a kind of a monopoly for rare earth elements, which the other nations are now trying to fight against. The next article that we have here is about a very good decision by the National Medical Commission recently, where they have declared a conversion therapy a professional misconduct. So the issue is that the people belonging to the LGBTQ community have been facing this problem for a long time. The issue is that whenever the people belonging to the LGBTQ community actually come out, people believe that if they undergo conversion therapy, they will be cured. People believe that this is a kind of an illness or this is a kind of a disease, and all it requires is some kind of a therapy to actually cure people. Now the National Medical Commission has taken a tough stand against it, and they have said any state medical council or any doctor that is approving this kind of a conversion therapy will be charged with professional misconduct. That is, no member of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or intersex community shall be forced to undergo this kind of a conversion therapy, particularly when they are young. Why? Because it actually involves a lot of trauma, it involves a lot of violence also on themselves. They are being forced to identify with a specific gender even if they are not comfortable with it. The National Medical Commission has passed on this order to respective states only after the Madras High Court had directed them to give this order on this issue, which is a great step ahead. We can learn from other nations such as Canada that has banned conversion therapy. Also, there are many other things that need to be changed in India. For example, medical textbooks in 2018 still considered lesbianism as perversion and as an act of mental degenerates. We have come a long way since our independence when it comes to giving different rights to the LGBTQ community. However, a long journey still remains and we can learn from a lot of nations across the world. Now, this is a timeline if you have to understand about how much progress have been made with respect to granting the rights to LGBTQ community since India's independence. At the time of the British rule, homosexual intercourse was considered unnatural and a criminal offence under Section 377 of the IPC. All of you are now aware of Section 377 ever since the Supreme Court had decided to take away this section. After independence, the right to equality was implemented as a part of Article 14, but unfortunately, the Constitution was not clear about homosexuality, and homosexuality still remained a criminal offence. It was only in 1992 that in India the first known gay protest was actually held. It was only in 1992 that the first known protest for gay rights in India was actually held. In 1999, Kolkata hosted India's first gay pride parade. These kind of parades which have become pretty common these days in India and in Western nations as well. In terms of the judicial intervention, the biggest landmark was in 2009 when a landmark Delhi High Court decision, the Nas Foundation versus the Government of Delhi case came in, where the Delhi High Court said that treating consensual homosexual consummation between adults as a crime is a violation of their fundamental rights. This was seen as a landmark judgment since it took away Section 377 of the IPC. However, sadly enough, in 2013, the Supreme Court overturned the Delhi High Court judgment and restored Section 377, saying that it should be from the Parliament side. If the Parliament wants to decriminalize homosexuality, then they should do it. The judiciary should not intervene. In 2015, Shashi Tharoor, the Congress Member of Parliament, tried to introduce a bill to decriminalize homosexuality, but just like with most of the private member bills, it was rejected by the Lok Sabha. In 2017, the Supreme Court upheld the right to privacy as a fundamental right and renewed the hopes of the LGBTQ activists. And then, finally, in 2018, the day came which everyone was waiting for, when the Supreme Court said that Section 377 was unconstitutional. Since then, there has been a major change in how the LGBTQ community is being perceived throughout the country in different sections of the society. Another very important landmark in this story is when the Supreme Court Collegium picked Saurabh Kirpal for being a Delhi High Court judge, who is now India's first openly gay judge in India's history. The next article that we have here is about the India-Bangladesh ties. This article has been written because of the visit of Bangladesh Prime Minister that starts today, and will go on till the 8th of September. Now, India-Bangladesh relations are very, very interesting in the sense that if you look at India's neighborhood, Bangladesh probably has the best relationship with India by far. We have been collaborating on a lot of different issues, and we have also been ensuring that our each other's interests are taken care of. Now, to understand how Bangladesh politics works, I would just like to give you a very brief background. Bangladesh has two main political parties. One is Awami League and second is the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Bangladesh-India relations really depend on which party is in power. Meaning that whenever the Awami League is in power, Awami League is a party that is led by Sheikh Hasina, who is the present Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Whenever the Awami League is in power, the India-Bangladesh relations are very warm, very cordial. However, whenever the Bangladesh Nationalist Party comes to power, they usually take an anti-India view. Whenever they come to power, we see a lot of anti-India activities actually happening in Bangladesh. And that is why it is in India's interest that Awami League remains in power as much as possible. This is where there was a controversy recently when Bangladesh Foreign Minister recently requested the Indian government to ensure that PM Sheikh Hasina stays in power when Bangladesh has its elections next year. Now, India would like that very much, but as you know, we cannot interfere in any other nation's election. So it is not in our hands to decide who will rule over Bangladesh. However, in the past decade or so, the two sides have really warmed up their relationship. We have been trying to collaborate on multiple issues like artificial intelligence, fintech, startups, connectivity. Not just this, Bangladesh's very first nuclear power plant is also being set up with collaboration from Russia and India only. Yes, there were a few hiccups in the form of the Citizenship Amendment Act when India introduced it. There were some statements that were made by our leaders against Bangladesh population, but that also has been handled very well and it has not emerged as a big issue. During the visit of the Prime Minister of Bangladesh here, it is expected that the two nations might sign up the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Now, this is important for Bangladesh for various reasons. One interesting reason is, so far, Bangladesh comes in the category of the least developed countries, that is the LDC. The least developed countries, as you know, are given a lot of preferential treatment by other nations, like duty-free, quota-free market access. Every country gives them a lot of money, a lot of help without paying a lot of interest. However, now with the good economic growth that Bangladesh has been showing in the past few years, they will now lose this status and they will come in the category of developing country. Now when they come in this category, they would have to ensure that they actually have free trade agreements with as many nations as possible to continue having these kind of trade relations. And this is why their agreement with India is extremely, extremely important. Bangladesh is India's sixth largest trading partner right now, and bilateral trade has actually increased many folds in the past decade. It has reached $10.8 billion in 2020-21. World Bank says that if this free trade agreement with India is signed, it could really give a boost to the bilateral relations. World Bank says that exports could rise by 182% under free trade agreement. And if we further work to reduce the transaction cost, the trade might even boost by 300% in the coming years. Bangladesh has also been keen on joining India on multiple projects like India-Myanmar-Thailand highway project, and has also been ready to give India access to its ports such as the Chittagong port and the Mongla port, which allows us India another access to our own northeast part and access towards the other countries of South and Southeast Asia. Now, this is not to say that everything is very smooth between India and Bangladesh. Whenever you talk about any Indian neighbor, the one country that you cannot ignore is China. It is not just India that is very close to Bangladesh. China also has been ensuring that its bilateral ties with Bangladesh only improve over time. Bangladesh, in fact, has approached China for a mega project to enhance the Teesta River flow into India. The same Teesta River on which India has not signed an agreement with Bangladesh so far. In fact, Bangladesh is now the second biggest arms market for China after Pakistan. This is a point that is usually ignored. We usually just focus on the biggest arm importer from China, which is Pakistan. But we know that Bangladesh itself is very much up there in buying a lot of arms from China. Not just this, over the past few years, we have seen Bangladesh-Pakistan relations have also been improving considerably, which might be a negative sign for India, but Bangladesh has repeatedly said that their relationship with India will always be their top priority. However, such positive relations were not always the case between India and Bangladesh. As I said, India-Bangladesh relations mainly depend on which party is in power. Like from 2001 to 2006 when BNP was in power, in 2004 a 10-truck arms and ammunition haul was actually caught in Chittagong. And most people believe that it was actually meant for ULFA that was fighting against the Indian armed forces at that time. So as long as the BNP remains in power, the relationship between the two countries is rather frosty. And this is where one other important point comes in. For Bangladesh, the Teesta River is extremely important. So important that whenever the elections happen, the political parties actually fight on this agenda also. That if you vote for us, we will ensure that the Teesta River Agreement is signed. So now experts are saying that if India really wants the Awami League to remain in power, we may have to sign this agreement so that they can sell this to their people and can get all the votes that they require. As I said, India has been helping Bangladesh for many things, including their first ever nuclear power plant, which is being built with the help of India and Russia. Not just this, India has even offered a line of credit for Bangladesh to cover for this nuclear power project in Rupur in Bangladesh. Also, this is a very brief recap of Bangladesh-China relations. China, as you can imagine, is the largest trading partner of Bangladesh because China has the capacity to provide very low-cost electronics and other kinds of essential commodities to a nation such as Bangladesh. In 2019, the trade between the two sides was about $18 billion as compared to numbers with India which are close to $11 billion as we just saw. China, in fact, has been favoring Bangladesh continuously. It declared zero duty on 97% of imports from Bangladesh. Bangladesh, as you know, has actually become a hub of manufacturing apparels and different types of branded clothes, shoes, etc. The concession has been given to Bangladesh because it is a part of LDC, and if it actually graduates to become a developing nation, all these things will actually be taken away from Bangladesh. China has even promised $30 billion worth of financial assistance to Bangladesh, apart from taking a lot of weapons from China year after year. The next article that we have here is about how exactly are we planning to roll out the 5G technology. In simple terms, the article is saying that there are two ways in which different nations are trying to roll out 5G. One way is called standalone, while the other is called non-standalone. The very basic difference is if we use the hardware that was used for 4G and we use it for 5G technology now, that will be called non-standalone. While on the other hand, if you now try to put up all new infrastructure specially built for 5G and run your services there, that will be called standalone 5G rollout. That is the main difference between the two. As you know, before the 4G hit the common people, the 3G, the 2G technology that we have, they did not really offer very reliable or fast speed internet. With the introduction of 4G, as you know, making calls over internet became very common. Now, if you have to call someone in US, UK, Singapore, you don't really require an international pack. All that you have to do is to do a WhatsApp call and you will just be charged with your data and no money will be taken away from you. At the same time, 4G also allowed high download speeds of the order of 200 to 300 Mbps, making it very easy for people to actually go online. All the cricket matches that you see today, the India-Pakistan match watched by over 1 crore people are using the internet connections to see those matches online. All that has been possible because of the high-speed internet of low latency that became a part of our lives with 4G. Now, 4G was different as compared to the previous technologies because it allowed us to use something called OFDM, that is orthogonal frequency division multiplex. It increased the efficiency in achieving data transfer at a very high speed and allowed multiple users to share a common channel without even interfering with each other. That is what made 4G much different as compared to the earlier forms of the technology. With 4G, the number of smartphone users around the world also increased considerably. In fact, in the last 7 years, the smartphone users have almost doubled to $6.6 billion and it will increase even further by 2027. Add to that a lot of other devices that use internet. We have smart TVs, we have smart watches, we have all these kinds of systems that are using the same internet that our mobile phones are also using. While this is just for the retail users, the big corporations are also using this technology to work on artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, and whatnot. All that has been possible because of the introduction of 5G now. Now, as we discussed, 5G is different as compared to 4G because it will provide even higher speeds with a change in frequency with ultra low latency. 5G will bring in a new standard which will be called 5G NR or 5G new radio. Now, what will it do? It will increase the energy saving for the devices and enhance the connectivity. This will be using very high frequency millimeter wave in the range of 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. If you compare it with 4G, the 4G LTE technology used to have 6 gigahertz frequency and near about. That is how 5G will be different. As I said, 5G will be on two models, either non-standalone or standalone. Non-standalone, where the operator can use the existing capacity of the 4G LTE architecture and deploy it using the 5G network. This will only be short to medium term because in the long term, if you really have to provide 5G experience to the users, you will have to change your infrastructure. But initially, to bring your cost low, you can use the existing infrastructure as well, as is being done in Germany. Then there is a standalone model where the companies are deploying new infrastructure to start 5G technology afresh. This was done by Chinese company Oppo. Reliance is also doing the same, where Reliance is preparing premium technology for rolling out 5G and giving an all new fresh experience rather than depending on anything from 4G. Reliance in fact plans to expand its 5G network to every town in India by the end of 2023. Now, I've said this to you earlier as well and I'll repeat it once again. For common retail users like you and me, where we use smartphones mainly to just surf internet, see videos, watch movies, in our day-to-day life, you should not expect that a lot of things will change because of 5G. Anyways, now you don't have to buffer videos, the 4G is enough. 5G mainly will actually change the lives of enterprises of how high-end technology like IoT, driverless cars, like these kind of things work. So with 5G, not a lot of things will change in our day-to-day lives, but it will change the world of technology as we know it in the long run. Also, whenever you talk about internet technology and broadband, some of the countries that usually always lead it is South Korea. You can check anytime the usual internet speed or the average internet speed country-wise, and you will see South Korea comes at the very top. With 5G also, they have been the world leader. It is expected that by 2025, 66% of South Korean population will have their hands on 5G. For India, this number is expected to be close to 11%. As I said, South Korea usually always remains at the top in terms of availability. When it comes to 4G, 5G, even when you talk about the 3G numbers, they were usually at the top only. These are the important articles on the Hindu newspaper today. Now a couple of practice questions. Number one, relations with Bangladesh still remain the brightest spot in India's neighborhood diplomacy. Elucidate. Second, assess the progress made by the Government of India in ensuring rights to the LGBTQI+ community since independence. Both these questions have to be answered within 250 words each. You can click on the link given in the description of the video, go to our answer writing portal, write your answers here, and you can see answers of other students as well and give each other feedback. Thank you so much for watching the video.